Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of DMV Confidential. I'm Kenzie Chase.
And I'm Jenny Gable.
And today, like always, we have a new episode for you. But this one's a little bit different than our usual episode. Usually, we come on here and we give you a case. We give you a cold case, a murder case, a rape case, something that either has been solved or has yet to be solved. But today we wanted to come up and talk to you guys about something a little bit different. And it's more about how to not become one of these cases.
Yeah, so we kind of, me and Kenzie were just kind of having a discussion about a lot of the cases that we cover and a lot of times deciding what we're going to talk about for the show. And we actually ended up talking about, wouldn't it be interesting to take a self-defense class? Because I know I personally had never taken one before. You had a little bit of experience taking one, but to kind of just learn better ways to protect yourself and kind of learn more about the importance of knowing self-defense in case you get into a situation that is a dangerous situation.
Right, and I feel especially it's important for us as one woman, Jenny. I feel like we constantly live with that fear of anything could happen. How are we going to actually defend ourselves from assailants that are perhaps bigger, stronger, with the adrenaline rushing? How are we going to know what to do in those situations? And so that's kind of where this idea came to fruition, is that we were trying to figure out how we can actually help our viewers. It's one thing to just give you guys a case week after week, and we love doing that. But we also wanted to give you something you guys can take away and use in your own lives, and hopefully you will never have to use it. Mm-hmm. But if you find yourself in a situation where you are potentially under threat, you will know what to do.
Yeah, and I think it can get also talking about these cases, or anybody that likes to listen to true crime, just a little bit or a lot mentally kind of taxing, because you hear a lot about these horrible situations, and it kind of just feels like after a while, well, this can really happen to anybody. And I think it just really kind of underscores the importance of knowing self-defense.
Right. And so today's episode, like we said, it's a little different. So we wanted to talk to you about a DMV Confidential, not another statistic. So this one's also a little bit more fun for us, because not fun in the sense of we always enjoy what we do, but it's fun because we get to talk to you guys about some pretty fun moves that we got to learn.
Which you'll get to see
in
this
that
episode.
You'll get to see. So here is the warm-up. So before we get into all the cool moves and all the tips and tricks that we learned at One Way Martial Arts
in Alexandria,
we are going to show you our warm-up. So here
There's
can see
Kenzie.
me. There
I am.
There
practicing this movement. So when we got there, they kind of had everybody do some stretching, a little jog around, high knees,
right,
just to get moving. And then they practice some of these movements. You can see kind of flipping backwards, like if you're going backwards, getting back up on your feet. And you saw Kenzie in the clip there. You did a pretty good job.
Thank you.
I did not try that one.
Thank
I was a little bit too intimidated.
So here's what they're doing right now. You'll see is they start off with breaking their fall, and with that you are trying to break your fall and stop the momentum, because when you get pushed to the ground or when someone tackles you or whatever, you don't want to hit your head.
Yeah.
So at the very beginning of this exercise, before you see me crawling like a inchworm, that's what I'm trying to inchworm, you want to hit the ground and stop your
without
momentum.
banging your head backwards, if you can.
So that is what people are starting doing. They're stopping their momentum. They're slapping the ground hard. So that is something that you guys can practice, and there are also a lot of, besides just this video, there are a lot of tutorials on this. But you can slap the ground when you fall back and
kind of like almost catch yourself with your arms in a way while keeping your head up.
And then here you can see that we are, again, moving. This is more jujitsu. This class is very jujitsu centered. They offer a lot of different classes at this facility, but they made it specifically self-defense for this class. But here you can see we're doing getting some stretches. This is a very popular, common move that you have to use in jujitsu to sort of get out of some tough spots. But that is our little warm-up. The next thing we want to talk to you guys about is, the main thing that assailants are probably going to try to do, especially if you're small in stature and they look like you could probably be taken somewhere, is they might try to grab your wrist.
Yeah, so at the very beginning, after he kind of did those warm-ups, as you showed Kenzie, the instructor and actually owner of the martial arts facility, Patrick, kind of talked with the class about the importance of disengaging. You know, something I remember that he said specifically is it's called self-defense for a reason, not self-attack or attack, right? And he kind of talked about how in a lot of times the first important thing to know is if somebody grabs your wrist, which happens often in a lot of these cases, how to kind of disengage from that and not let it get to a further point. So he kind of walked the class through what that looks like and how to do that.
Right, so that's what we're gonna play next, and then we'll kind of talk about it and kind of try to walk you back through it. So here's a clip of them explaining this move that we're talking about.
You guys see my thumb? I was gonna go towards to my thumb. You guys see he has 4 fingers? He has 4 fingers on one side and a thumb on the other side. If I try to pull here against the 4 fingers, he's gonna be stronger than me. So, let's say I'm trying to go another way, he's going to go here. Pull me that way. Guys, he's gonna keep pulling. I need, even before I break the grip, have a base. Because if I'm just like, legs together here, and he's gonna pull me away, I need to have first a base on the same line of my shoulder. Now, remember the 4 fingers? I'm gonna go against that. I'm gonna bring my thumb up, I'm gonna bring my elbow down and pull my arm. That's extremely stupid, but a lot of people are abducted in the beginning just because of that. You guys see my thumb?
Yeah,
So
I think he just kind of emphasized the importance of it's not typical common knowledge, right? But in a lot of these cases, you see it just begins with someone just simply grabbing you. So knowing what to do right away can kind of prevent it from going further.
Right, and I like how he even talked about, you know, you got to establish your base. Because when you're standing up and you're walking around how you normally do, you're not really sitting into anything. You're not really holding your ground because you don't really need to. You have your balance. But what do you do when someone comes and tries to sort of remove that balance? So he talks about kind of getting low into that position, holding your base, and then if you can see, it's kind of hard to see. You might have to like zoom in, but if you could see, someone's grabbing his hand like I think like this in the video originally. So he doesn't want you to pull this way towards the 4 fingers. The goal is to try to loosen. Let me put this over here. Loosen this grip right here
And lifting your thumb up.
Yeah,
Right?
and pulling, bending your elbow and pulling out.
Yeah.
That is something that seems super simple. Yeah, you want to try to pull your grip away from your assailant, but
If you're just standing straight up, kind of pulling your arm back, you know, he kind of demonstrated like they're going to pull you with them because they kind of have the advantage there when they're holding your wrist. But if you're able to establish that base, like you said, Kenzie, and kind of bend your elbow that way. Something else interesting that we didn't have in the clip is he kind of talked about doing a move like this, even if you're a smaller person and the attacker is bigger, that doesn't really make a difference because you're establishing your base and kind of pivoting your body. And in a lot of situations, you know, being smaller, be quicker, kind of catch the person off guard that maybe doesn't expect you to have any type of reaction other than just kind of going with it.
Right, and there are some other things that we can talk about. I mean, even we know from just our own research that there are certain things that assailants tend to look for.
Yes.
So, for example, I mean, you can think of if your hair looks like it's easy to grab for us girls or even guys with longer hair. If your hair is in a ponytail or something that looks like it's easy for someone to grab, that could potentially make you stick out as a target. Now, is that a reason for you to not wear your hair in a ponytail? No, but it's something to be aware of, especially because the next move we're going to show you actually kind of talks about what to do if someone grabs your hair. So you can see here in this next video, someone
kind of being
is
walked through. So I'm the one who's
Jenny.
this
is Jenny over there in the back being walked through this move. Look at her; she's very serious.
I was kind of, as you can see, grabbing the top of her head, and it's kind of demonstrating how the person whose hair is being grabbed will pivot their elbow, I believe, above the other person's elbow to kind of bend their arm in half and get away. This was another move that we learned if the person kind of has you in more of a headlock, as you can see, is kind of walking me through. I needed to be shown several times there how to do that.
This is some other moves. So we're just going to kind of show you some of these moves and kind of briefly talk about it, and then we can kind of dive more into what's actually going on in these moves. You can see here, this person has Jenny in a chokehold. He is punching her with this wrist. She is supposed to grab this first wrist, hold it, and then bring the other one, bring the arm around and kick him down. So you can see, and here's me. Here's my favorite video.
Kenzie just wanted to try to flip one of the instructors, of course.
And she did let me. That did fulfill a good portion of my day. But yeah, so you can see here's someone's grabbing the top of my head. The first thing you want to do is you want to try to get I'm going to actually move this to myself. You're going to try to get you first want to hold on to it. So if someone is grabbing the top of your head or your hair, you first don't want to yank away because that is where the pain comes. You first want to hold on to it so they can't pull. And then you can move your elbows to try to get on top of their elbow. So when you see in this video, that is kind of what
using your elbow to establish, and you could definitely snap somebody's arm by doing that if you have enough force.
You can see this person is getting, Jenny, the assailant in this example, was holding someone's hair, and you can see here I'm putting my elbows over the person's arm and then flipping them down. You can see that a couple of different times. Holding the head,
kind of prevent further pulling, and then just using your elbows to pivot.
To kind of pull it, and then you can twist the arm and help break free.
Which was, I don't know, learning that was definitely cool to me and interesting because, I mean, I don't know, I just never thought that that's like a way that you could get out of that hold. Because you think if someone grabs your hair, that hurts really bad. What are you really supposed to do?
Right.
Like almost like try to hit them or something. But the move was more so to just kind of, again, disengage, get distance from them.
And I like what you said, Jenny. I mean, it's not about, fighting back. But the main thing was your natural instinct. Oh, someone grabs your hair, you want to pull away.
Yeah.
But it kind of has to take some thought to actually no, I'm going to stand my ground. I'm going to hold on to it so I don't get pulled. And I'm going to try to just disengage this attack. You can see throughout this too, here's again that move we were showing, but the next move is us flipping someone. So someone comes up and tries to grab you from behind. The first thing you want to do is get down in that base.
And keep your back straight up, right? Like good posture, keep your base strong.
Keep your base. If someone's coming up to try to pick you up from behind, you want to get down low first. And then that's what Jenny's doing here, this next part. You're putting your leg behind the attacker. And
keep
then
your head up, try to move your hand, and then that way you can just kind of shift backwards.
You can see Jenny with that far hand is grabbing the leg and helping to push that person on the ground.
Which that was definitely a tricky one for me personally. Had to be shown multiple times. You can probably tell from watching the footage.
This was my favorite, honestly.
I did like this
headlock one because, this is side note, but I grew up with brothers who would, put me in headlocks and stuff, and it was always how do I get out of this?
It's just a very vulnerable kind of position to be in. What are you're just kind of squirming. So to kind of learn this is how you can kind of pivot your body to then almost move the momentum and get them to kind of, fall. And again, disengaging, the most important part, not trying to attack them back.
Right. And when someone has you, I'm going to put it on me again. Sorry, Jenny. When someone has you in this headlock, this is a head right here, and they're beating you up, the first thing in that video shows them grabbing this hand with your backhand, grabbing them, holding that hand here so they can't punch you anymore. That's the first thing. You want to stop it, pin it to their hip, and then you can see in this video that when we get to it, you'll see that they go around. You want to break free, go out, break the arm, and then put it behind them up high, and then you can kick them down, and then you can get away. And that's
which I think it really just kind of goes back to the point that we said earlier of which they talked about in the class, that a lot of people might feel nervous or intimidated to take a self-defense class, maybe feel like you're not strong, you're small, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what, how small you are, how strong you are, really. It's about kind of knowing how to stand your ground, I think, and different ways that you can kind of shift your body. I mean, that's a takeaway that I had from it. As you can see there, Kenzie.
I know, yeah. And so here you can see that Jenny's about to pin that punching fist to the hip. That's the first step. You stop the punch, and then you can see she grabs it with the arm, flips out, escapes, and then puts it behind him and then kicks him down very gently.
Yes.
Do it more aggressive than that.
Yeah, so it was definitely cool to kind of practice. The instructors kind of walked around and walked us through it, and we were with partners, obviously, who have definitely more experience than us doing
Right.
this
They
to
were-
kind of walk us through what we were doing.
They were very kind. They were very patient. But it did feel, how did you feel leaving it, Jenny? I honestly felt like I could take anyone. I mean, I went home and showed my husband, and I was like, look what I did. And he's like, please don't try any of these moves on me.
I honestly felt like, yeah, I did partially like feel like that. Like, wow, I feel like now I'm definitely a lot more knowledgeable, but also I guess maybe in a weird sense, almost more vulnerable. But the only reason I say that is because, you know, not knowing these things before, and obviously still not perfect with it now. Like, these are things that you would have to really kind of practice and keep refreshed. Like, we're, you know, obviously no experts now that we just took
not
this
at all.
one class. A lot of these people have done this multiple times, or
I
they're
wouldn't try
involved in
us, though.
martial arts, right? So I think in that sense, it almost feels like, wow, if something like this were to happen, I really didn't know a lot of these things. And I think
Right.
that kind of goes back to the common knowledge point. It can be even simple movements like the disengaging, moving your thumb up, right? But the average person doesn't know that, or, you know, think about that too as well, because it's a scary thing to think about.
It's also, I think, about practice.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I think it's important for anyone who doesn't already have these skills to acquire them, because once even though we've taken this class, you know, who knows really how we're going to react when adrenaline is high.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes when adrenaline's high, you know, all your knowledge goes out the window. And so it's good to have this practice so that it becomes more second nature, of like, you don't even have to think about it. When adrenaline's high, this is just autopilot.
And I think it's something that if you obviously do multiple times, like whether it's a class or just practicing, something that you would get more confidence with as you go on, and then become better at doing, to kind of, as we'll talk about more later, but getting more comfortable in the uncomfortable situation, right? Because it is intimidating. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I think it was definitely really cool to kind of learn those moves. And it's definitely a lot of things that I did not know before at all.
And there were some other things that you can do before you're ever even involved in any situation like this. We'll talk more about what some of the instructors have to say a little bit later, but there are some other things just in general about, you know, making sure you're not on your phone, looking up.
Self-awareness is very key.
Self-awareness, because it's so easy when you're looking down at your phone and walking for someone to sneak up behind you. And it is those precious little moments that could make complete difference.
And I think that kind of goes into the point of why it's important to know self-defense or know some of these techniques or take a class like this, really, because, you know, and a lot of the crimes we talk about, right, it's never the victim's fault. Like, I just want to emphasize that. Never, absolutely not. But nobody ever thinks that something horrible, like an attack or anything like that, would happen to them, right? Because you hear about horrible things all the time, unfortunately. And I think sometimes, I don't want to say desensitized, but it's not something that you might feel like this could actually happen to me, right? And so I think that kind of goes back to the importance of why you should know some of these things, because it really can happen to anybody. And something that the instructor that you saw briefly in the clip, like with the disengaging, Patrick, who I believe is the owner of the martial arts facility, you know, we asked him, why did you get into martial arts? Like, what kind of inspired you to get involved in this and to teach it? And he actually told us, like, when he was younger, a teenager, he was actually jumped by some other teenagers, and that experience kind of made him feel like this is something that I should learn, because they knew martial arts and kind of had that background. So I think it kind of just goes to show it could really happen to anybody, and it's important to know it. I think it makes you feel more confident as a person too,
right?
Like knowing those things and how to kind of protect yourself,
right? And then there's other things too of, you know, again, looking under. I mean, I don't, Jenny, do you look under your car when, like, you're approaching it?
I have done that. I have done that before.
Like, there are things that, like, are just kind of second nature, especially as women. I'm sure men feel that way sometimes too. But, like, looking under the car as you approach, and just having that self-awareness, especially at night.
Keeping
but even
your head on a
day,
swivel.
Some of these cases that we have covered so far have happened in broad daylight.
And places you might not even expect.
Right,
really.
Absolutely. In places that seem like something like this would never happen. So, and I'm sure these people never thought that something like this would happen to them. So, kind of what you were talking about, Jenny, about the instructor, I want to play a clip from Patrick, kind of talking about some of his thoughts about the whole self-defense.
Self-defense, a martial art, to start to feel more comfortable, you stop being afraid of certain things. And once you're not afraid, you carry yourself better, you walk better, you talk better, you live a better life, and that avoids all the situations. Just the fact that you're a treater, like, you carry yourself better, avoid people to come close to you and have like bad decisions, bad attention, because you show a different energy to the other people. Most important thing.
Yeah, I think something that he touched on that's important is like kind of how you said, Kenzie, that self-awareness, but also like how you carry yourself, like having a confident posture, you know, you're not afraid to kind of use your voice if you have to, or things like that. A lot of times in these cases, the people who are committing the crimes or the attackers don't typically want to go after people who are going to put up a fight. A lot of times
fight or seem
the intentions they look for
make
might
a lot
be
of noise.
Yeah, like somebody who's maybe not paying attention, or somebody who seems maybe, I don't want to say meek, that feels like almost the wrong word, but they, you know, obviously their intention isn't to go after somebody who's going to make it difficult for them, right? So I think that kind of goes back to with taking these classes, or even just kind of knowing more so how to protect yourself. You might carry yourself in a more confident way, and a lot of times people with bad intentions can see that.
Yes, and there are some other things too that we didn't really cover in this self-defense class, but I just genuinely know from some background, is when someone is trying to move you, that is to a different location specifically. There is a high probability that if you get moved, if you let yourself get moved to this new location, that you will not make it out alive. That this person is going to do something that will make it so that you don't leave that new location. So when it talks about standing your ground and when to do that, when to fight, when to put up a fight, if someone is trying to actually move you to another location, that is the moment that you put your ground down, and that is when you fight. Whether that is shouting, whether that is
being vocal,
like making noise, doing these self-defense moves. And like, we want to talk about how some people say the best defense is a good offense. Well, one of the other instructors would completely disagree with that, especially when it comes to self-defense. She would argue that the best self-defense is avoiding the fight altogether.
I feel like it's amazing when you start feeling comfortable being in an uncomfortable place and knowing how strong you are. You know, I feel like, as I was saying earlier in the self-defense class, I feel like the most effective self-defense is when you can stop the assault. When you can stop the assault even before it gets physical. So the way that you have your posture, that you look at people, looking in their eyes, the way that you walk around, I feel like it's very important for us to step up for ourselves and show others that we are here for ourselves. I feel like it's amazing.
Yeah, Kenzie, so she definitely kind of touched on that point of self-defense is really not about if someone starts to kind of come towards you, or, you know, it starts to get to that point. It's not about let me see how I can just fight them or be aggressive in a sense. It's like you need to obviously stand your ground, but try to disengage, make that space, which they said also several times throughout the class, make space between them and you, and like go get help. But then obviously if it comes to the point where you have to fight, keeping that dominance and assertiveness. And like you said, it kind of goes even before that even happens. Just, you know, again, back to that situational awareness and things like that are really important.
Yeah, and I kind of what you mentioned, Jenny, about getting like some distance. So when you're going through this, another thing you can do is like keep your hands up here, because when your hands are down by your side, I mean, I wouldn't particularly walk around like this with your hands like this every single day, but specifically when you're in a situation like this, let me clarify. Keep your hands up, guard your face, and try to keep that distance. Try to keep that distance between you and your opponent, especially
keeping your strong base, right?
Exactly. Because the real way you want to win this is you just get away. You get away without having to have a direct attack, especially for us smaller opponents. When we're going up against a bigger opponent, they're going to have brute strength on us, more than likely. So we have to first try to get away, and then we can use our smarts and try to outsmart them by using some of these moves that we learned today. Now, it's one thing to see us do it. It's one thing for us to talk you through it. But I would personally encourage everybody to do a self-defense class.
I think it was a really eye-opening experience. I
Yes,
think you would agree, Kenzie, for
yeah.
sure. Like, it definitely was, a really good experience. And even in those clips, I probably look a little bit funny because I'm like trying to figure out what's going on, like for sure. But I think it was definitely an eye-opening experience on why it's so important to kind of know these things, but also that I think it is comforting, as a woman, that there are ways, even if you're at a disadvantage in an attack, there are ways that you can protect yourself. And that's something that she told us too at the Giovanna, like advice to someone who might be intimidated. She said it's really all about the mindset when like learning these techniques or taking a class like this or learning martial arts, about the mindset of like, no, like you are strong, you are capable of learning this and protecting yourself. And you really just have to, I don't know, I feel like almost like fake it till you make it and be willing to kind of take their instruction. But anybody's capable of learning. It doesn't matter where you come from. I know that Patrick told us he's had doctors, lawyers, people of all different backgrounds come to take these classes and do martial arts there. And it's really almost like a safe space for people. He said almost like a third space for people to kind of come together and learn. So,
Yes. And so we talk about all of this, but it's because it's important. 1 out of 8 adult women, or at least 12.1 million American women, have been the victim of forcible rape. 1 in 6 men will experience a sexual assault in his lifetime. 1 in 4 women will experience severe physical violence by an intimate partner. And there are more statistics. Even more have been a victim of violent crimes in general. These are real things that happen to real people, real women and real men and real children.
anybody could happen
Anybody. Anybody of any age, any gender, anytime. And it's something that we need to be aware of and something that you guys can prepare yourselves for so that if you're in a situation, you at least have the tools to
Get yourself out of that
get yourself
situation.
out of it. If you guys want to hear more episodes like this, where we cover more of the cases about true crime, and we'll re-air this episode as well, so you guys who have missed it get the opportunity to hear about it. But if you want to hear more true crime stories, hear about some of these cases we mentioned earlier in this episode about the homicides and the cold cases, we will be airing this on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. So stay tuned, and we will see you guys then.